So students, we have studied till now about the different causes of poverty, and after studying about all these causes of poverty, we are now moving on to the another topic here, what the government is trying to do to finish off this poverty from India, or we can say what are the efforts of the government to fight poverty in India. So one concept is coming here, poverty alleviation programs, and in this poverty alleviation programs, our government from the beginning, from 1947, after the British rule was over in India and we got independence, from that time onwards our constitution has already started making efforts to remove poverty from India. So according to the Indian constitution, I am going to read from page 72, left side, last paragraph, NCERT book page. The Indian constitution and 5-year plans state social justice as the primary objective of the development strategies of the government. So our constitution of India from the very beginning made its primary objective to plan for social justice to every person, every human being living in the country, that is India. So according to this, from the first 5-year plan, that is starting from 1951 to 1956, in the first 5-year plan there was the urge to bring economic and social change under present conditions, which comes from the fact of poverty and inequalities of income, wealth and opportunity. So in the first 5-year plan, 1951 to 56, the government planned to remove all the type of social injustice to different people. Like for example, there were inequalities of the income of the people. Some were earning high incomes, some were earning less incomes. So this inequality in the incomes should be reduced. For this, from the first 5-year plan, 1951 to 56, our government has started planning. It's started planning for achieving certain economic goals where the income should be balanced between all the individuals living in the country. So efforts were made on this, plus different opportunities also should be made available to every person living in the country, maybe job opportunities and other type of opportunities also. In the second 5-year plan, 1956 to 61, it also pointed out that the benefits of economic development must accrue more and more to the relatively less privileged classes of the society. So in the second 5-year plan also, 1956 to 61, our government goal was that to bring the economic development or the benefits of economic development to the poor people, or directly speaking, to the less privileged classes. The income should move from the rich to the poor also. So this was the aim of our government in the second 5-year plan also and in the first 5-year plan also. So according to this, what our government has planned, the government's efforts were based on 3 approaches. So you can see here that to remove poverty from India, to reduce poverty from India, what our government has planned, it has planned for 3 approaches. First one was the first approach of the government, second approach of the government, and third approach of the government. So we'll be studying about all these 3 approaches one by one. First of all, we are going to start from the first approach of government, which is also known to be trickle down effect. So what happened in this first approach of government to reduce poverty in India? According to this approach is based on expectation. See, one expectation is there of this first approach. The expectation of the government is to bring economic growth to the lower strata of the society, less privileged classes. Economic development should reach to those people. This was the main expectation of the government in the first approach of making efforts to reduce poverty in India. So according to this approach, what was to be done by the government was that rapid increase in GDP and per capita income would spread to all sections of the society. So as the planning of the government was in the first approach to spread the benefit of economic development to every levels of society, maybe rich, poor, middle class, everyone. And therefore it planned that the GDP, gross domestic product, and the income, that is called as the per capita income, should be increased should be increased to every sections of the society. And if this will happen, then automatically trickle down effect will take place. What do you mean by trickle down effect? If the rich class of the society will get more income, because you may all be knowing that when the gross domestic product increases, that is the production of goods and services increases in primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, then automatically what will happen, more per capita income will rise, because the same GDP will be distributed among all different factors of production: land, labor, capital and entrepreneur. So when GDP increase, per capita income also increase, and if this per capita income will increase, then what will happen? When the rich class people will get more income, then automatically the income will start trickling down or flowing down to the lower strata of the society also. This was the effort made by the government in the first approach, that it was focused in 1950s and early 1960s, that the trickle down effect will take place to the poor sections of the society. And it was felt that rapid industrial development and transformation of agriculture through green revolution in select regions would benefit the underdeveloped regions. So it was thought that if the secondary sector, that is manufacturing sector, more production will take place, with primary sector also, which is called as agricultural sector, the agricultural activities should also increase. If both these sectors production will increase, then automatically what will happen, then all the underdeveloped regions will be developed, and there would be a good change would be seen among the people who were earning lesser incomes. Their incomes will also rise. But according to chapter 2, Indian economy 1950 to 1990, we have studied that these different policies adopted by the government, framed by the government, formulated by the government at that time, were not very effective. And because of which, in third chapter, we have seen that in the LPG chapter, liberalization, privatization and globalization chapter, we have studied that we have to take a loan of $7 billion from World Bank and International Monetary Fund. So this all situation came because of economic crisis in India. In the second chapter, we have studied the policies formulated by the government were not very effective or not very successful. So this is the time period at the same time. This all we are talking about. So the problem was this. If you will see here, in chapters 2 and 3, the overall growth of agriculture and industry have not been impressive. The production was not impressive in the industrial sector also, in the agricultural sector also. And there was a big gap maintained between the rich and the poor. The rich were getting more richer, poor were getting more poorer. And the growth has resulted in a very low growth in per capita incomes. If you see that the growth was observed at that time in 1960s and 50s, but the growth was very gradual, very slow. And if you see about the Green Revolution, through Green Revolution, the government was trying to achieve the goal of increasing the production in the primary sector, agricultural sector. And there also in the agriculture sector, we observed that the rich farmers were becoming more richer and the poor farmers were getting more poorer. And we saw that in the previous chapter that about 80%, in the same chapter we have studied, that about 80% of the small and marginal farmers are found in the rural areas. These are those farmers who cannot employ new technological techniques of production, in the agricultural sector. So this is a big problem with the small and marginal farmers. These are about 80%. So this is a very big population, as we have studied in our head count ratio also, that the proportion of the poor people in the rural areas are more than that of urban areas. And there was unwillingness and inability to redistribute land. The problem in the Green Revolution was this, that the farmers in all the different states of India, they did not get allotted the limit of land. The land was not redistributed in a proper manner. It did not took place, the redistribution of land did not took place everywhere in India in a proper manner, except some of the states in south of India. But rest of the state, the redistribution was not done in a proper manner, and because of this, the small farmers remained small and marginal farmers, right? They have to face poverty because the redistribution of land was not in the right manner. Economists state that the benefits of economic growth have not trickled down to the poor. So the economists say that in the first approach, which is called as the trickle down effect, from the rich strata of the society, the income will move from rich strata of the society to lower strata of society. This did not took place. As we have seen in the agriculture sector, rich farmers became more rich, and poor farmers became more poorer. After this, while looking for alternatives to specifically address the poor, policymakers started thinking that incomes and employment for the poor could be raised through creation of additional assets by means of work generation. So, afterwards, some other alternatives were found out, that how this problem of poverty should be removed, should be reduced in India. So, it was thought of a plan, of a strategy, that creation of additional assets and means of work generation will solve this problem, that is income and employment. Can be the problem of income and employment could be solved by work generation, giving more and more opportunities of work to the people through various programs. It could solve the problem of poverty. So if we move on to page number 73, we will see there that on the basis of this only, some poverty alleviation programs were started in the second approach. So what was the second approach? The second approach was initiated, remember, the first approach was initiated in the first two 5-year plans, 1951 to 56, 1956 to 61. The second approach of poverty alleviation programs were initiated in the third 5-year plan, that is from 1961 to 66. And according to this plan, more and more poverty alleviation programs were started by the government of India, and these were based on the expanding of two type of employment conditions, self-employment and wage employment. As you all know, self-employment is the type of employment in which a person can start his own business, and wage employment is that type of employment in which a person is provided with some per day wages work, or you can see unskilled workers can do work. On the day that they work, they will get the wages for that day. So wage employment also and self-employment programs were initiated in the third 5-year plan. It was continued after that. So according to this, you can see here, in the second approach, wage and self-employment programs were started. So in this sequence only, some of the programs I am going to tell you from the book. Directly I am reading from here. Some of the examples of self-employment programs are, we are going to talk about self-employment programs. In the rural areas, the program was called to be REGP, Rural Employment Generation Act. This was a self-employment program started in the rural areas, where the government was aiming to create self-employment opportunities uh, in the village or the rural areas, okay, uh, through some type of its own commissions like that of Khadi and Village Industries Commission was implementing this type of program in the rural areas where the people in the village areas can start their small scale industries to produce khadi cloth, okay. And apart from this, in the rural areas if we move, then according to this, self-employment programs were two types, like you can see here, PMRY, Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana, and SJSRY, Swarn Jayanti Shahri Rozgar Yojana. You can see here, both the programs are showing that these are the urban areas program, where under this program in the urban areas, any educated unemployed people, any educated unemployed person can take loan from through these programs to start up their own business, okay. And in this way employment opportunities will also increase, and more employment creating assets will be increased. So you can see, so both these programs were aiming at providing employment in the urban areas. After this, earlier under self-employment programs, financial assistance was given to families or individuals. So previously it was seen that according to this self-employment programs, the government used to give financial assistance to the different families who wanted loan for starting up a business. But now what the government has started a new type of program which is called as self-help groups. These are the self-help groups where different members of a particular region or any rural area, maybe 20 members, 30, 40, 50 members can make a group. They can make their own self-help group, SHG, which we call as, and they can pool their money together monthly, weekly, whatever they want to. And after pooling this money, a lot of money is collected from these members, and the money which is collected, this money can be given to the members to take it as a loan, and for which a very minimal rate of interest is charged from them. But the different persons are getting loan very easily because they are the members of this SHG, and the bank is also giving loan to these SHGs, okay, which are registered on the money collected by them. So this is how now the new type of program is going to be initiated by the government. SGSY, another program is Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana. Gram here means village, okay. This is one of the program in which National Rural Livelihood Mission, this is now being reconstructed, which is called as SGSY program, NRLM. This is National Rural Livelihood Mission. This is the program which is also initiated by the government, and where the different members of this NRLM can get financial assistance to start up any small scale industries, business, and same is started for the urban poor also, okay. Then after this, about the wage employment programs we are going to study here. In the wage employment programs, one of the very important program is NFWP, which is called as National Food for Work program. This is a particular type of program in which the different regions where the below poverty line people, poor people are in a very high quantity, there the government is giving them food free of cost, without taking from them without charging from them any transportation cost or any other type of tax on it. No, free of cost this food is provided, and whatever work they are also doing, for that work they are given food grains in place of their work. So because these people are those who are living below poverty line and they want food importantly. So government has started this type of program in near about 150 districts of India. And apart from this, one more wage employment program is there, which is called as Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. This is MGNREGA program. According to this program, 100 days guaranteed employment is given to unskilled workers in one in every family. 100 days guaranteed employment is given to these people in a year. Okay, so this is another wage employment program. Then moving on to the third approach. So this was the second approach. Now moving on to the third approach. What was the third approach now? The government's approach to reduce poverty in India. In third approach, we will see, I am reading from page 74 in the last paragraph left side. The third approach to addressing poverty is to provide minimum basic amenities, right? So the third approach was aimed at providing minimum basic amenities to the people. And India was among the pioneers in the world to envisage that through public expenditure on social consumption needs, provision of food grains at subsidized rates. So you can see here that minimum basic needs involved all those type of necessary food items even, which were required by the people in various regions, and these type of food items were provided to these people at subsidized rates. Okay, so this is what was one of the particular program you may be all knowing about, PDS, Public Distribution System, which is one of the program in which at subsidized rates some important necessary food items are provided to the different poor people, different categories of poor people. Okay, and according to that only the ration cards are prepared for them according to their incomes, right? Like green, yellow, white ration cards. With this, in the minimum basic needs, education is also made compulsory, health is also made compulsory, water supply, safe drinking water supply is also made compulsory. These are the minimum basic needs, with sanitation also coming in the minimum basic needs, were made available to those people who were not having all these things. So people's living standards through these minimum basic needs could be improved, and with this, the programs under this approach are expected to supplement the consumption of the poor, create employment opportunities, health and education. You can see here, we have already studied, and in the fifth 5-year plan, you can see a fifth 5-year plan. Even with expanded employment opportunities, the people will not be able to buy for themselves all the essential goods and services. So more and more employment opportunities were made available to those people who were not even able to meet these needs, basic needs, which are very important for every person in the country. And they have to be supplemented up at a certain minimum standards by social consumption and investment in the form of essential food grains, education, health, nutrition, drinking water, housing. Even housing is also to be given to these poor sections of the people, okay, poor sections of the society. And the three major programs aimed at improving the food and nutrition of the people, to improve the food and nutritional status of the poor people, some new type of programs were initiated by the government of India. Among them were Public Distribution System, PDS, as we have just now studied, talked about this ration shops. And apart from this, midday meal scheme, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Gram Udyaya Yojana, Valmiki Ambedkar Awas Yojana, were these attempts in the same direction to provide good food and nutritional health status of the poor people in India. So it may be essential to briefly state that India has achieved satisfactory progress in many aspects. So our India has achieved a considerable amount of growth in all these type of programs. But we see that still some problems are also there, where some type of corruption comes and the government officials are corrupt and they are not ready to means you can say make available these benefits of the programs to the poor people, and because of this problem is coming. And in this only third approach, there is one more program here which is called as National Social Assistance Program, NSAP. National Social Assistance Program is a program under which all the elderly people who do not have anyone to take care of them, those people are covered in this NSAP program. And also those destitute women who are even widows, or destitute means here that those type of women who are not able to get all the minimum basic needs, they are also covered in this NSAP, National Social Assistance Program. Under this scheme, these people are given some health insurance, and also some pension funds are also started by the government of India for them to help these people in India. Apart from this, if we see what were these efforts of the government, were they successful or not? Were they successful very much or not? So we will see here that a critical assessment is there that these programs were not very much effective in India. Maybe the benefits of these programs were not reaching up to the poor sections of the people, and therefore these programs were not doing well. And apart from this, there was also some lack of awareness among the poor people about these programs, and that is why they were not able to prepare these type of got benefit of these programs. And these were some of the negative aspects, or we can say a critical appraisal about these poverty alleviation programs started in India. It is written that scholars, while assessing these programs, state major areas of concern which prevent the successful implementation. You can see here the successful implementation of these programs was not very much effective, was not done in a well manner, not properly started, due to unequal distribution of land and other assets. So due to unequal distribution of land and other assets also, the benefits from direct poverty alleviation programs have been appropriated by the non-poor. So the non-poor started taking the benefits of these type of programs. Where the poor should take the benefits of these programs, the non-poor started getting benefited from these programs. And if you see that the amount of resources allocated for these programs is not sufficient, right? So moreover, these programs depend mainly on government and bank officials, and mainly these type of programs are dependent on bank officials, where if corruption occurs there among the bank officials also, or among the government officers, then the poor people were unable to get the benefit of these loans or these programs. Okay, so this inefficient management of the programs did not benefit the poor people. So all these poverty alleviation programs, we can say in India, were planned in a very good manner but not implemented in a proper manner, right? So because of this, still we can see that a large section of the poor people are still found in our country, India. So this was the chapter, and we have finished this chapter. So bye for now.